Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Drishti series on Art and Culture for Prelims 2021. The first topic of this episode, world's oldest cave painting was discovered. First thing, where it was discovered? Sulawesi Island. Where is it? Indonesia. Now this painting is apparently 45 to 20,000 years old. There is a huge variation because still there is no surety exactly how much old it is. This dates to Pleistocene era. You need to remember present era is Holocene era, which began around 12,000 years ago. Before that it was Pleistocene era, 2.5 million years ago to 12,000 years ago approximately. Now what has been seen in this painting? It is a painting of a wild boar and it was found on the island of Sulawesi. And how it was made? It was made by hand impressions of red mulberry pigment, and this painting is said to be older than the earlier paintings which were discovered in Europe and was seen as the oldest painting till now. The scientists especially have also highlighted the climate effect, the climate change effect which is destroying these paintings. Why it is destroying? Because the rocks on which these paintings, these mural paintings have been made, they are seeing weathering effect due to the climate change, especially due to rise in temperature and humidity. Why? Because the pigment with which this painting has been made, apart from the rock, this pigment is eroding, is disintegrating, and the process which I just described as weathering of the rocks or formation of salt crystals on rocks due to higher humidity and higher temperature, this process is known as 𝐏𝐻𝐒, an associated concept, an important one. Moving on further, so 𝐏𝐻𝐒 is causing physical weathering on these rocks, and that is why this painting is under threat. What is physical weathering? We know weathering means wear and tear. Physical weathering means physical forces are causing wear and tear to structures like rocks, mountains, and even soils. Now, an associated thing we can also remember from here is that the important islands of Indonesia in a certain direction, let's say from west to east, there was a question in UPSC a few years back that which island is closest to Indian subcontinent or the territory of India. So just for the sake of information, you should know that the Sumatra, it is the westernmost in Indonesia, the westernmost important island in Indonesia. Then we have Rio here, then we have Jakarta, then we have Java, and here we have Bali. This present island, Sulawesi, it is here. So now we know west to east important islands. Look at it again, Sumatra, the westernmost, then we have Java, then we have Bali, and then we have Sulawesi. I'm sorry I missed Rio. Rio is just after Sumatra. Moving on further, Dickinsonia was in news. So such term kind of question, term related question, term based questions have been asked in UPSC in past few years. You just need to know what it represents. It is basically ancient animal remains which have been found in Bhimbetka Caves. Such kind of remains, impressions and a few remains in a cave at Bhimbetka, and they are apparently 550 million years old. Now this discovery has several implications. First, such similar remains were also found from Australia. So what the experts believe that at one point of time all of the earth, as there is already established theory that all of the landmass was called as Pangaea, and later that landmass broke up. We had Pangaea breaking up into Laurasia and Gondwana land. Gondwana land and Gond tribe, they share history. This word share history. Now, so experts believe that it re-establishes or it gives evidence of the theory that India and Australia were once part of the same landmass. And they also suggest about the time period, because since these remains are at least 550 million years old, it says that at least this Gondwana land was formed 550 years ago. Here it is what I was telling, Laurasia and Gondwana land was formed. India and Australia were associated at that point of time. So, Bhimbetka Caves, we just discussed Bhimbetka Caves, we need to know they are located near Bhopal in Raisen district of present Madhya Pradesh. These are rock cut caves and they are located at the foothills of Vindhya mountains. So, you need to know the location especially for upcoming prelims. And what are they famous for? So, they are famous for rock cut caves, caves which were made by humans by altering the mountain structures, in this case Vindhyas, to possibly to reside or maybe to do certain other activities like ritual activities. Legends say that it is associated with Bhim, one of the 5 Pandavas, and that is where it gets name from, that is Bhimbetka. Bhim rested here. Now, there is a display of paintings from Mesolithic period. We know the history has been divided into the ancient history, the prehistory basically, for which we have no records, has been divided into Paleo, Meso and Neo on the basis of tools basically, which early humans used. And the middle one is called Mesolithic. Basically, microliths were the tool which were used, and domestication of animals had just started in this era. In India, at different places, this era belongs to different time frame. In India, it is said to be approximately from 9,000 years to approximately 4,000 years ago. So, this painting belongs to that era. Interestingly, Bhimbetka had several such paintings at this location. The paintings, they have depiction of several creatures, some real, some mythological, tigers, lions, boars, elephants, dogs and crocodiles. And there are also paintings of religious symbols. Now, there is a dispute that why these paintings were made. Some say this was a ritual activity, some say it was a religious activity. What we definitely know that humans since prehistoric times have been expressing themselves. Dancers have also been depicted on these walls, and this kind of painting which is made directly on the wall is called mural painting. Mural painting, which is started since prehistoric times, continues to this day. So, this is a long tradition in human history. Moving on further, some important major cave paintings in India. First one, the most famous, Ajanta Caves. We have this image of Padmpani, slightly pixelated one, but if you remember, a very important figure, because first Ajanta Caves are a part of UNESCO's World Heritage List. Ajanta Caves has another important fact that all of or most of the painting, most of these caves, they are dedicated to or were related to Buddhism. This is an important fact. Padmpani, this painting here, is one of the avatars of Avalokiteshvara, and Avalokiteshvara, one of the Bodhisattvas. Then moving on further, we have Ellora Caves. Ellora Caves again in Maharashtra. So, Ajanta Caves, they are 100 kilometers from Aurangabad. Ellora Caves, 25 kilometers from Aurangabad. They are also included in World Heritage List of UNESCO. And most importantly, they have all 3 Hindu, Jain as well as Buddhist religious iconography. So, this is what separates Ajanta from Ellora. Time period is 600 to 1000 AD, because such massive caves, such massive structures, impressive architecture took hundreds of years to take its present shape. As you can see, 600 to 1000 AD. There was a question in UPSC in past year that Bodhisattva Padmpani, the painting which is one of the most famous and often illustrated painting, is found at, we just saw it is found at Ajanta. It is a very iconic painting. There was another question. Now, see, why I am showing you these questions is because even if you know certain important facts coming especially from current, you are able to identify a few statements which may help you to reach the right option, the right answer. Now, the question was regarding rock cut architecture, and there were several options. We won't deal with all the options. Caves at Badami are the oldest surviving rock cut caves. No, there are the Barabar caves. We won't be dealing with those. So, Barabar caves, Chandragupta Maurya, no. Ellora caves were made for different faiths. So, this is what we just referred to. We know that Ellora caves had Buddhist, Jain as well as Hindu iconography. So, we know for sure that this statement is correct on the basis of what we just discussed. Moving on further, another major cave painting, Sittan Vasal, you need to remember, they have Jain temples, Jain paintings. You can look at the images of various Jain monks. Now we have Badami in Karnataka. It has images, iconography related to Shaivism, Vaishnavism, as well as Jaivism, and a very famous painting, not very clear here, but a very magnificent painting of Shiva having 18 hands. Some refer to it as Nataraja, is also found here. Then Jogi Mara in Chhattisgarh, again very important. Why? Because unlike other caves, it has no religious iconography. It has iconography from nature, that is animals, humans, flowers, birds. Why? Some say it was because theatre was performed here, it acted as a background. We don't know for sure, but what we need to remember, Jogi Mara, it is in Chhattisgarh, and secondly, it has nature's iconography. Another Elephanta, very famous in Maharashtra. Then we have 𝐏𝐻 caves in Madhya Pradesh. So these are all the important major cave paintings found in India. Moving on further, there was a new research on Indus Valley civilization, which is the norm. It has been again and again in news. So why it was in news this time? Because a few scientists reached a conclusion on the basis of analysis of the utensils used in Indus Valley civilization, that what were the culinary habits of Indus people, and they reached a conclusion that they used to eat meat of pigs, buffaloes, goats, sheep, etc. A conjecture, but still based on evidence, and this is what they reached the conclusion. And what we need to know, these are common facts you might be knowing already, but still let us revise. Indus Valley civilization, also called Harappan civilization. Why Harappan civilization? Because discovered by Dayaram Sahani, Harappa was the first site in 1921 to be discovered. So following the norm, it was called Harappan civilization. Mohenjo-daro was the second site a year later. Major places, they are Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Sutka Jendor, all three in Pakistan. Then Lothal, Surkatoda, Kalibangan in Rajasthan. Then we have Dholabira, Banavali, Chanhudaro, Kotdiji. So these are the important sites. We already know a bit about them. We have discussed a few in earlier episodes as well. I'm so sorry for the image quality, but the question was that which of the following is not a Harappan site? So very easy to get the answer if you know which are the famous Harappan sites, and that seals the deal in such kinds of question. Now, another important news was related to Mopla rebellion. Why it was in news? Because it has been decided, or it has been written, it has been petitioned by a committee of ICHR, Indian Council of Historical Research, that the names of Mopla rebels, they need to be removed from the Dictionary of Martyrs of Indian Freedom Struggle. First thing, what is this dictionary? So this dictionary was commissioned recently in 2019 by the present dispensation, and what the ICHR has said, that names of Waryam Kunnat Haji and Ali Musaliar need to be removed from this list. Now, why they are saying so? Because they believe that this rebellion, this Mopla rebellion, was never a part of freedom struggle. So history is not merely facts, it's also an area of interpretation and reinterpretation. So this is the new idea, and not only interpretation and reinterpretation, but that should be based on facts. And what they are arguing is that it was mainly focused on religious conversion, and there was no slogan of rebellion in which there was any flavor of nationalism or nation or an idea of fighting particularly against the British. So on the basis of these reasons, the committee from ICHR has asked to remove the names of these rebels from the list of martyrs. Now let us know something about Mopla rebellion. So it was not a singular event in Indian history. In the first half of 19th century, when the British continuously increased their presence in the Mopla region of present-day Kerala, so the local population, which were predominantly Muslims, their landholding size gradually increased. The Hindu zamindars, they gained property and they gained social mobility there, and So there were demonstrations against it. 22 such rebellions took place in this short period of 1836 to 1854. They were also called Malabar rebellions. Now, in the same area in 1921, an iconic time when non-cooperation movement was in sway. So during that time also, in the same region from Malabar, Kerala, this rebellion rose up, and then most of the farmers who were Mopla Muslims rose against the regime, and the regime also included the Hindu landowners. So it was called Mapila or Mopla rebellions, and initially they were against land revenue, rent, etc. So what happened was that non-cooperation leaders or Khilafat leaders, they extended their support to this movement. However, later this rebellion is said to have turned into a communal movement, as we just said what ICHR committee is saying, and then the support was taken back. So on the basis of that, ICHR is asking their names to be removed from this list. Now, what is ICHR? ICHR is an autonomous organization under Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education earlier was known as MHRD. Now, what it aims to promote research in the field of history, and it issues guidelines to pursue that research objectively. It usually consists of countries' leading historians, and in 2019, as we just discussed, Prime Minister launched the Dictionary of Martyrs of Indian Freedom Struggle. This dictionary is aimed at recording all the names of all the martyrs who laid down their lives in the glorious freedom struggle between 1857 to 1947. There will be 5 volumes of this dictionary. So it is a major archiving exercise which is being conducted. Moving on further, Social Justice Day was in news. Why it was in news? Because Tamil Nadu government decided to celebrate the birth anniversary of 𝐸𝐻 Ramaswamy Naikar, a very important figure from Tamil Nadu, from social justice movement. So it was decided to celebrate his birth anniversary as Social Justice Day. Now, 𝐸𝐻 Ramaswamy was born in 1879, and he later acquired the moniker Periyar. Now, he started the self-respect movement, and he was also associated with the 𝐈𝐀𝐒 movement of 1924 to 25. 𝐈𝐀𝐒 movement was basically temple entry movement that was necessitated because the 𝐈𝐀𝐒 temple had closed its doors, or had never opened its doors basically, to the backward classes, what they called as backward classes. And so as a social reformer, Naikar stood against it. So he was associated with this movement, but he started the self-respect movement. This self-respect movement is also dated around 1925. He started as a congressman, but he later stopped believing in the ideals of Congress, and later he joined Justice Party. Justice Party was founded in 1916. He joined much later, and he became its president in 1938. Now, with the kind of intellectual journey 𝐸𝐻 Ramaswamy had, he visited Russia, and at that time communism was taking word under its sway. He was so much influenced by their manifesto that he translated it. He translated the famous communist manifesto into Tamil, and in the self-respect movement of 1925, equal rights were claimed. Basically, he is the person who is responsible for most of the politics or the ideals of politics which are prevalent in present-day Tamil Nadu. Basically the ideals of social justice. So he began this movement in 1925, and equal rights were claimed for the backward castes. His opinion was, and it was a very polarizing and strong opinion, that religion and the God associated with it are responsible for all kinds of social division. Now, he wanted the untouchables to be free from all kind of religions, and obviously then he was critical of those religious texts which, if not exactly sanctioned, were in a way supportive of social divisions. So he was critical of Manu Samhita, Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. He believed that these scriptures allowed Brahmins to have authority or prove authority over backward caste, and very importantly, he also associated this hegemony with patriarchal hegemony, that these texts also allow men to have hegemony over women. Now, 𝐈𝐀𝐒 Satyagraha, 1924 to 25. So, he was associated with the 𝐈𝐀𝐒 Satyagraha, which wanted to gain gain entry into temples of Travancore. Moving on further, we just mentioned he joined Justice Party. So, what was Justice Party? Justice Party, we mentioned, established in 1916. It was a political party in Madras Presidency. C. Natesa Mudaliar was its founder, the main founder, but PT-2021 and T.M. Nair, they also, PT-2021, T.M. Nair and PT-2021, they also contributed. So, these were the founders, Mudaliar, Nair and Chetty. So, they were the founders of Justice Party. It has been asked in a statement kind of thing in a previous year UPSC question. Now, this Justice Party, it was formed as a result of series of non-Brahmin conventions. They had their disenchantment with the politics of Congress, and eventually when different constitutional developments were taking place in India, for example, Round Table Conference, the first Round Table Conference which took place between 1930 1931. So, Justice Party had also sent its very famous leader 𝐸𝐻𝐒 Ramaswamy Mudaliar to that Round Table Conference, the first Round Table Conference. So, with Justice Party, we come to the conclusion of today's episode. Very soon, we will be releasing the last and final episode of Art and Culture series. Till then, keep the pace of your preparation going strong. All the best and good luck.